Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Hey guys, haven't shared it too many times, but one of the biggest epiphanies that I've ever had in my life was the first day that I started reading personal development, entrepreneurship, business books. And the day that I started reading those books, that was the day when my life changed. And ever since then, I've never stopped. So I've compiled the top 30 books and also the top 30 success quotes that every man must live by in a simple guide. You can download it for free at kfmfree.com. Again, that's kfmfree.com to really start growing in every aspect of your life. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Benson. He has over 21 years of sales and leadership experience and has trained thousands of people throughout the country. He started and ran a fast-growing, multi-million-dollar telecom company from a TV tray table with only a cell phone and a shoestring budget. On top of his full-time gig, he's working to form a socially responsible business that builds positivity and success through a happy, healthy, and inspired lifestyle. His motivation to build his newest entrepreneurial venture, Squeezed, is rooted in marrying his wife and raising his 3 beautiful daughters. Eric, I'm excited to have you on the show here.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here as well. Thank you, Andrew.
All right. And so we start off every show with a favorite success quote or saying from the guests, something that they've lived by. So what do you got for us? And if you could share with the audience why.
Yeah, and by the way, absolutely, I just wanted to say congrats on hitting the success that you have and love your story and the honesty about, I read the article about going from depression to mastering things, and congratulations on that. Yeah, and really, that's at the crux of what I've been doing over the years and my recent project. But when I think of quotes or what I live by, I think of a Ralph Waldo Emerson, action speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. That's one of them. Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish. And the other one, especially with this project I got going on now, is another Emerson one, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And I know you're kind of a Anthony Robbins junkie too. So that's pretty much right off the front of his book, Unlimited Power, from way back, if you read that one.
Yeah, I did read that one. That was actually the first book that I read that was about personal development. My brother was like, "You look sad," and then he threw that book at me, and that started the journey. Like that, if it wasn't for that moment, we would not be talking right here. So
yeah, the funny thing you're mentioning that my uncle did the same thing for me. I'm way older than you, but that was the book that kind of started it for me as well, and it just, I would say it was a life changer.
Yeah, and I heard he's got a new book coming out finally about financial freedom, so I'll have to check that one out. But I guess it's supposed to be his next big book.
Nice. Yeah, it's always fun to pick up. Yeah, there's so many great books. It's hard to narrow them down. I mean, there's just a ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about books. Don't worry, we'll be talking about books.
Okay, all right.
So let's learn more about yourself. I mean, you kind of just gave us a glimpse of who you are with your quotes and the books that you read. And let's dive deeper. Let's take a few steps back and learn more about yourself and how you got started with what you do. So yeah, the mic is yours.
Yeah, it's pretty strange that I'm where I'm at now, being as off course as I was growing up. And I've got a wife, 3 daughters, 2 dogs and a fish. And I always joke, my favorite phrase I use around the house is, my name's Dan. I'm doing the best I can, because I live in the estrogen ocean. I live with all women, even the dogs and the fish there's no males here. So I think it's God's funny little joke that he put me in this situation. I grew up in a divorced home, and it definitely had its ups and downs. I was an only child, but I always had a lot of people around. I was hugely competitive in baseball and hockey. Got a chance to play in the Little League World Series when I was a kid in Williamsport, the big one out in Williamsport, and played hockey competitively all over the U.S. and Canada. And it was just a blast being able to go and travel and do that. And I think growing up, I was always a little bit on the smaller side, not the most talented. So I really had to focus on the work ethic piece to kind of compensate, where I kind of got to the point of, hey, I don't want anybody to outwork me. My mom and dad were hugely supportive, but I went through a period that, based on reading some of your stuff and seeing it, I was lost. I was partying. It was a pretty challenging time. And again, reading some of your stuff, I had my uncle challenge me. My parents were great. They were divorced, but they loved me. They were great. But I remember he challenged me, and it was right at the time where he gave me that book, Unlimited Power. And I was getting ready to go to a bachelor party with a buddy of mine, and he just looked at me and my buddy, and I mean, he knew we were going out and we were going to get lit up, and it was just going to be probably an ugly evening. And he just looked at us and he said, "Hey, I'm going to challenge you." And we just looked down and we're like, "Are you kidding me? Why? What do you have to possibly challenge?" I mean, we tried to sneak out before he could finish, but he said, "Hey, I want to challenge you to not drink tonight." And he was kind of the king of throwing down challenges like this. And we just were like, "Are you kidding me? Are you nuts?" And we went there and we talked about it the whole way. And for some reason, we took the challenge. We didn't know we would, but we got there and we just decided, hey, let's just not drink tonight. And we didn't. And when you're sober, it's weird, some of the things that you see that you don't necessarily see when you're not sober. And we saw some things that night that, again, being a father of 3, you kind of go, what's really going on here? And that was kind of a dark time. And the stuff that you're doing, and where you kind of come from nothing and you make something through what I'm calling the life squeeze, and what my project is all about, is you took something and made something awesome out of it. And the thought of that one person made a huge impact on me. And whatever you're doing, don't ever think that you can't be a huge impact to somebody else, because one person can make such a huge difference in somebody else's life. But to go a little bit fast forward from there, he challenged me. I started to kind of go down a better path, but I wound up getting my first sales gig. I've been in sales and sales management, business ownership, and sales training for 20 plus years. But my first sales gig, you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah, classic.
Do you remember Abe Froman? Do you remember who he was in the movie? This is a trivia question.
I'm trying to put it together. I'm like Googling.
You want me to just tell you?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. He was the Sausage King of Chicago. So my first sales gig, if you will, and really I was a business owner, I was the Sausage King of Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago. I live in Iowa now, but my uncle, the guy who was helping me kind of mentor me down the right path, he had some buddies out in Spokane, Washington. He said, "Hey, these guys are running this business, this meat business, and I think it'd be great. You make some good money." And I told them about you, and they want to fly you out here and talk to you. And I said, "Yeah, great." I was at a dead end job. I was at a dead end retail job, and I figured out, what the heck, I'll go out there. So I went out there, and I wound up buying $1,100 worth of different types of meat. And I got back to Chicago after some training, and I went out on these guys' routes in Spokane, Washington. I got back, and I was an absolute basket case trying to figure out, how am I going to go and do this? And I remember my first day that I was going to go sell sausage. I was going to be the sausage man. And they teach you what to do. I had my refrigerator, I had my bag, and I had to cut up my samples for my sausage. And the stuff was the best. It had everything from, you like beef jerky?
I love beef jerky.
Okay, so this is not the crap that they sell at gas stations. This is like the old fashioned stuff that is hung on the hook out in the smokehouse, and it was as tender as you can get. There was natural and teriyaki and honey glazed, thermonuclear. There was individually wrapped pepperoni sticks. There was natural teriyaki ones that were jalapeno, and they had the little jalapeno chunks, beef sticks and steak nuggets, and all just little smokies, anything you could want. So I had to bag this stuff up, and I had to cut up samples. And I remember my first day, it was January in Chicago, and it was a huge snowstorm. And I'm looking out the window going, what did I get myself into? You know, I don't want to go outside. I'm fearful. I'm resistant, and I have zero success. So I reluctantly go out, and I was just a huge vision of success. I go out to my 1980 champagne-colored Chrysler LeBaron with a maroon top. In the top, the felt on the inside's kind of falling down, and I open my trunk and I throw my all my meat in this styrofoam cooler, and I throw this meat bag around me, and I was so nervous, I was so freaked out. I get in my car and I have this 30-pound meat bag strapped around me, and I'm trying to drive down the street with this meat bag strapped around me. And my first cold call that I ever made was literally 2 blocks away. It was on Cicero Avenue on the south side of Chicago. And have you ever been to the south side of Chicago? Okay, so if you want to conquer some fear and cut your teeth and get kicked in the head, go try to peddle meat on the south side of Chicago on Cicero Avenue. So I remember sitting in this car for like 30 minutes, and I could not figure out how to open my car door. I was beside myself in fear, and I had the training. So after about 30 minutes, I finally opened the door. I walked through this Color Tile was the name of the business. I walked through, and literally this is what they trained me to do. They trained me to come in. And picture this as a business owner. I come in and I say, hey, the sausage man's here. And as I'm saying that, I'm whipping out this 3-foot long sausage out of my bag. And the next line out of my mouth was, I just thought I'd come in and give you a sample of the world's greatest beef stick. So picture this. You got a dude in your office who's standing there with a sausage in one hand, and the next thing that I do is I pull a knife out of my other hand. So I've got a 3-foot long sausage in one hand, and I've got a knife in the other hand. And then the next line I was trained to say was, did you want hot or mild? And typically you'd get 1 or 2 reactions. You'd get the first reaction, people would look at you like you had 6 heads, and they'd go, boy, you better get the hell out of here. That's the first reaction. Or the second reaction was they'd look at you and they'd say, yeah, I'll take some hot, sure. And it was about the scariest thing you could ever do. I mean, you had people chasing you around buildings saying, hey, there's no soliciting. And you say, I'm giving out free samples. And but the thing about it was one of the greatest ways to kind of start out, because you got kicked so many times. And if you could overcome the fear and walk through the door, then it was just such a huge deal. And if you could get them to just sample it, they were hooked. And I remember, quitting doing that after a while, and I would get voicemails saying, hey man, I haven't seen you out here. It was almost like it was this powerful drug or something. People would be jonesing for some jerky. So anyway, that was kind of where I started off. And I definitely wasn't making a lot of money with doing it, but it was some great life lessons. So from there, I have been in the telecom sector. I somehow got into the telecom sector since about 94, and it has been a wild ride. Everything from a telecom company to, like you said, starting my a business. Telecom was the biggest boom and the biggest bust in history, and there was a glut of equipment on the market. And I wound up hooking up with some guys, and their business went under, and I wound up starting my business on a TV tray, and literally a TV tray, a laptop, and a cell phone. And somehow, some way, through just continuing to work at it, put millions of dollars worth of business together and kept growing it. And yeah, so it's been a wild ride, but I'm still doing that to this day on top of the other project that I'm working on.
So, while you were talking about the Chicago story, I just typed in Chicago South, and then Google fills it in projects. So that's what Google fills in. So
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that far. It wasn't. No, it wasn't quite that. But I suppose you got to be somewhat cognizant of where you go in Chicago, because sometimes you cross over one street and you never know what you're going to get.
Got it. And so now take us to the Life Squeeze. What is this, and how did it come to be?
Yeah, and this is the one thing in terms of kind of connecting with you and your passion for starting something that you really have a passion for. I've been doing the telecom thing for about 12 years as far as the current business that I'm in. But you got to find something that you can speak with passion about. My daughter, a few years ago, started having severe anxiety issues. Great in school, teachers loved her, but she was having a hard time even going to the lunchroom, going out for recess. And at that point in time, it was just heartbreaking, and I realized I needed to do something. And from all my years of training, people always said, hey, you tell stories, and stories are how we've learned from you, not just teaching off of a PowerPoint. Storytelling stores memory. So what I did is I started putting these stories together, and I started going back and forth with the gal that was, we were working on it together. And before you knew it, I had 50 stories put together. And it hit me, we were just talking before the show here about running a little bit, and a lot of times, the endorphins hit you when you're running, and I was running and I was trying to figure out how do you package these stories up, and all of a sudden it hit me that I was listening to Metallica and the song's Broken, Beat, and Scarred, and it hit me that we're all squeezed in life, and no matter what, everybody whether it's a kid, whether it's an adult, whether it's somebody older, or whether it's a grade school, man, woman, we're all squeezed, whether it's by lack of time, money, relationships, ego, health. Health is a huge thing now that, there's so many people squeezed by that. But the big message that I was working on through this was, it's not the squeeze that matters, because we're all going to get squeezed. It's what you do with that squeeze that really makes the difference. And it's kind of that the proverbial turn life's lemons into lemonade, and really focusing in on, I know I'm going to get squeezed. How do I turn this into a better situation? I know I'm going to get squeezed, and if I'm going to get squeezed, I'm going to make it worth it. How do I make that juice worth the squeeze? So that was kind of how it got started. And then I started I volunteered to go into her class, and when I did that, I said, well, how am I going to connect with these third graders? And it was pretty daunting. Yeah, you think, why am I scared of third graders? But I was like, how am I going to connect with them? And before I knew it, I had about 26 pages of a kid's book written that was all about this little lemon character named Lucky. And his whole thing was he was getting squeezed by getting bullied, and he had a mentor come along, and then he listened to it, and the story, it goes from a tough story to he kind of perseveres through it. And so I brought this into the class, and I was nervous that they wouldn't get the idea of what does it mean to be squeezed. And I said it to them, and they got it. They said, oh, it means to be stressed out. And I said, well, do you know anybody that's stressed out? Yeah, my mom, my dad, I punch my sister, or my sister punches me, and they got it. So then I started doing these classes with these kids, and then it turned into people saying, you should turn this into something. And now we have content as far as a book, a kid's book, and we have these packages that we've put together where people can go to our site now, and they can go, and whoever they know that's squeezed by life, they can say, I'm going to send something that's going to make a difference to somebody that's squeezed in life. And before we ended the class, we had the kids, we called it I like you. So when you put the letters I, Y, and Q together, it just sounds like I like you. So we put this PS, Project Squeezed, I like you, and we had the kids each write down one thing they liked about each one of their classmates. And then we collected those and we gave them these iWikis at the end of the year. So now what we've done is we've taken that to a level of, you can go to our website, you can type iWikis to somebody you know that's squeezed, you can put a personalized note, you can get a pre-designed package, or you can get stuff a la carte. But the big thing about it is somebody opens it and it's like Christmas, or it's like a care package in college, and somebody knows when they open it, wow, somebody cares about me at my lowest point. Don't give up. Somebody thinks all these great things about me. And the stuff that we're doing, every time we sell one of these, we're giving back to help fund good causes. We just gave back to an organization to help feed a kid for an entire year by the boxes that we just sold, or dropping off 500 pounds of peanut butter to an organization. The big thing about these boxes, these squeeze boxes, though, is we're putting messages on each one of the products that we're putting in, and it's all focused around being happy, a happy, healthy, inspired lifestyle. And we're focusing on not just the PSIYQ message, but also what we're calling checkpoints. On each one of these products, we're putting, like on a water bottle, hey, drink water, work out, be healthy. It comes with a coconut shell filter, so you're saving bottles going into a landfill, and it says live half full on it. So if you're having a bad day, you look at this, it's your checkpoint. Hey, is my attitude right? On our bracelets, it's the official bracelet of Ironman Triathlon. We're putting bend, don't break on that. And we're putting mix it up on the top of a Country Time lemonade jar, and we're encouraging, hey, put your cell phone down, go make some lemonade with your kid if you have a kid, or go chill with your friends and throw a cocktail together or whatever. Come up with the greatest idea you've ever come up with. But it's an inspirational thing. All our partner products, they're committed to giving on the front end, whether it's funding water projects, helping orphanages, helping childhood cancer. So we're committed to working with only partners on the front end that give back. The inspiration cycle in the middle, every time you give a gift, you feel great. Every time somebody gets one of these, they're going to feel great. And then they can further that inspiration cycle by giving to somebody else that's squeezed by life. And then on the back end, our commitment and really reason for existing is every time something is bought through us, we're putting cause ahead of cash, and we're giving back to fund things that are worthwhile. And, from a passion perspective, I am hugely passionate about this, and it's one of those things that you want to turn your plan B into a plan A, and this is where we're going with this. So
yeah, it does. And so what I'm getting out of this whole squeeze, the life squeeze is it's not about getting squeezed and falling down or falling back or running away from the squeeze, but about making the best out of that squeeze or challenge. That's really what the squeeze is. And it's that common thing, when life gives you lemons, turn it into lemonade.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that awareness, I'm going to get squeezed. And the thing out there right now that's compelling and urgent, more so than anything, and you can go look at it, the number one killer of humans nowadays is heart disease. And that's directly linked now to depression, to suicide, the rates of anxiety, suicide, depression among kids, adults. The stress is out of this world. So, this might be extreme, but if we can keep somebody, a kid, an adult, from a suicidal tendency or something where they just go down a bad path, if we can inspire people to pass inspiration to other people like this, boy, it would make the whole project worthwhile.
Now, I want to talk about, why do you think people give up when they're getting squeezed? Why are they giving up, and what can they do not just view it at, try and make the best out of it, but also what are some strategies they can use to fully really make this better, turn their greatest disaster into their greatest ally? Yeah.
That's a really good question. Why do they give up? I think the reason why a lot of people give up is hopelessness. They feel like there's no hope. And that's one of the things on our website too, that we are just a huge advocate of, is we feel there's a happiness equation. And you got to find something to do, and not just something to do, but something that you love to do. Most people don't love what they do. It's unfortunate. So the big encouragement is to find something you love to do. I'd say 80+% of the people out there, it's probably 90+% of the people don't like what they do. So something to do, someone to love, and something to hope for. And if you can get away from your negative thoughts, it's really challenging when you're going through the lowest of lows. But I think, to answer your question, why do people give up? I think they feel a sense of hopelessness. How do you kind of turn that around? One of the things that's helped me and really helped in starting this whole project is looking for inspiration everywhere. And again, I got this on a run because the endorphins were kicking in. But when you look for inspiration everywhere, and you take those letters, it's the same letters that are in life, but they're mixed up. So when you talk about looking for inspiration everywhere and what you can do, always keep your proverbial antenna up. Always look for, hey, what's out there? When it looks the darkest, I got to realize that, and this goes to the whole squeeze idea, life is mixed up. Life is chaotic. And life is out of order. And I picture those name tags that says, hi, my name is. I picture, wear a shirt, whatever, and you see, hi, my name is, and you answer this. Which one are you? Are you mixed up? Are you chaotic? Are you out of order? And we can all probably relate to any one of those at any time. I know I can, with a wife and 3 daughters, fish and dogs and all that. But if you keep your antenna up and you're constantly looking for that inspiration, that's a huge start to it. And realizing that life is not going to be neatly put into a box magically. But if you want to go deeper than that, do something. Find something that pumps you up, just like you did, outside of your real job or your profession. I mean, things go by so quick. Don't live with regrets. And that's why speaking about this has been such a passion, because it's a cause before cash. We don't want to be a merchandising site. That's not the goal. That's not the intent. Find something you can go talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere about, that you feel proud, that you feel excited about. And if, now with the way that things are, you started what you did, and you did it on a shoestring budget, and you just hit 1 million downloads, right?
Yeah, 1 million downloads 2 days ago.
Congrats, by the way. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But do something. God's sake, do anything. Get out there. One of the things in doing this project, I self-funded the whole thing. I'm still self-funding it, but I got free help. I got people, advocates. I told them about it, and they said, this sounds like a great project. I'd love to help out in any way I can. So some people gave me help gratis, where it was just, they just wanted to be part of it. I said, I can't pay you anything, but if this goes anywhere, eventually I'd love for you to be on the team. The biggest thing is don't quit. That's one of the biggest things possible, is just, I've been working on this project for over 4 years, and it would have been extremely easy to quit. And I'm kind of shocked that I didn't. With as many stalls, things don't go in the right direction, insecurities, whatever it is. But when I can look at my daughters now and say, I've left them something, that it kind of started with them, that their dad, they're going to look and they're going to have some sort of legacy from their dad. Now we can give back to a lot of other people's and make a difference. And the big key there in don't quitting is getting some skin in the game, because the more skin in the game you get with something, the harder it is to quit.
Yeah, definitely. I think the more you engage, the more you put in, the more energy you put in, the more money you put in, although the more risky, the more results you're going to get. And you're right, man. The more skin you have in the game, it's like you're just more committed to it. I could have quit this thing so many times. Like, this thing really didn't make me $1. I spent my entire life savings trying to build this thing. Yep. And I'm just now starting to see some of those benefits. And people think because I have 1 million downloads, like, oh man, you must be a millionaire. I'm like, not exactly. Not exactly. Maybe for some other people, but for me, definitely not a millionaire. But it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, and when you do it, it forces you to be a better human being too, and to pass those things on to other people. I always talk to my daughters about, start and finish every day, be humble, grateful, and thankful. And with the classes that we go in and talk to when we volunteer, or when I volunteer, it's talking to these kids about controlling the controllables. The only things you can control are your attitude and your activity, what you think and what you say. And, if you take the word attitude, and if you ever want to do this, it's kind of a cool activity. You take attitude and you write the letters downward vertically on the page, and then next to each letter, you put an equal sign, and then you put the associated number with that letter of the alphabet. So, for example, A equals 1, and Z would equal 26. So when you take that and put the numbers to attitude, and you add that up, you get 1 for A, and a couple T's, or 3 T's or 20s for the T, and the U is 21. When you add all those up, it comes out to exactly 100.
How did you figure that out?
I guess being in the training world for as long as I was, I guess it was just one of those things. And the whole point of whether it's adults or whether it's kids, it's attitude is everything. And in everything that you're doing, it starts with attitude. So we just did that with the 4th grade kids, and it's important to just control the controllables.
Wow. Yeah, I actually just did the activity right now. It does equal 100. Just double check.
Yeah, and if people tell you you got to give more than 100%, there's one. I probably shouldn't cuss on your show, but if you did, I'll tell you this one off the air.
No, it's okay.
If you write bullshit down the paper too, that equals 103.
Okay.
So you can give 100%, but you usually give 100%. It's hard to give more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. So if someone says they're doing more, then it's probably bullshit, something like that.
Yep.
Let's now move into the knowledge round. So I'll ask you a rapid fire sequence of questions. And so are you ready for the knowledge round, Eric?
The scary round, huh?
The knowledge round.
Okay.
If you want to grow to the highest levels that you've ever been at in your life, go to kfmfree.com and you can download the top 30 books and success quotes that every man must live by. Every guy should read. If you want to grow, if you want to achieve greatness in life, you're going to have to read and surround yourself with the greatest minds of the world. So I've done all of the hard work for you. I've read hundreds of books. I've listened to hundreds of audiobooks. I've gone through and found the best quotes that you'll need to succeed and thrive and grow and become the man that you want to be. So go to kfmfree.com and I'll send it to you right now. kfmfree.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, so first question, Eric, what advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost or unsure of what they should do, or lost or unsure of their purpose?
Take your eyes off yourself. Try to focus on somebody else that has it worse than you, and find somebody that can help elevate you, a mentor.
All right. And what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
I think it's just a constant struggle. It's a constant battle. And when you want to do things, for as long as I wanted to write this book and get this project going, things get in the way. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I love my family, but you get married, you have one kid, and then another kid comes, and then the third kid, and you throw in a couple dogs, and things just get in the way. So a lot of people say, oh, I just don't have time. Me personally, if I were going to turn the mirror on myself, which that's the only time when you can be better, is when you flip the mirror on yourself. Stop saying I don't have the time, Eric, and start saying I am not making the time. So get your priorities straight.
Again, almost like your attitude is making you say, a negative language. And now, what are your 3 most influential books and why?
I've got influential books from the start, like we talked about, like that started Tony Robbins, Unlimited Power. Right now, the books that are huge in terms of helping me have been 4-Hour Work Week with Timothy Ferriss, Crush It, Gary Vaynerchuk, Do Something That Matters, Blake Mycoskie. I don't know have you read any of those?
Oh, I haven't read Do Something That Matters. That sounds really.
Yeah, it's good. But I mean, if I go back into the archives, Unlimited Power, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then a game changer for me. I don't know if you ever read any Og Mandino's stuff, but it was The Greatest Miracle in the World. He's got some just. Have you ever read any of his stuff?
Greatest salesman in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I used to repeat those. I used to like do that activity every day.
Yeah, if you haven't read Greatest Miracle in the World, it's awesome.
And now, scenario here for you. Imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
Stop waiting. Don't let the day go by without doing something and think, well, I'm young. I'll get to it. I would tell him to, seriously, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke, but do something like you did, where you created something from nothing. That's what I would do. Find something you love to do, get paid to do it. That's huge. And if you don't know, experiment. Get out there, look at different things, mix it up, take calculated risks, and find a way. If you're in a dead-end gig, turn your plan B into a plan A, eventually come up with that. And don't think that experience is always the best teacher. Look for other people's experience and be willing to find mentors and listen to them.
Anything you would tell yourself not to do?
I would say don't sit around and just wait for it to happen. Get out the front door and experiment and look to make things happen. And just don't wait, because time flies by. I can't believe how you look back and you're in your 20s and then all of a sudden you're in your 40s and you've got a daughter that's 12, coming up on 12, and one that's 10 and one that's 5. So it goes by too fast.
Yeah. And now just kind of reflecting back on your life and the things that you've accomplished and writing this book and in business and family man, of course, what would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
It really goes around the kind of inbred now with this whole squeezed philosophy, and the philosophy of waking up and realize that it's not always going to be a perfect day. And I use my checkpoints every day. When I'm at work, I'm working, I have my bottle in front of me, and I look down and I see live half full, and I remind myself I got to have a better attitude. It's that checkpoint, it's that cue. Same thing with bend, don't break. You can bend as much as possible, but just don't break. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't quit. And realizing that if you don't quit and you're getting squeezed, you have to make the juice worth the squeeze, because if I'm going to get squeezed, I'm going to make it worth it.
That resonates with me. I can just put that into action.
Awesome.
And now that concludes the knowledge round. What's exciting you now today? Like, what's getting you out of bed in the morning?
This whole project is amazing, and just the folks that are stepping up. Everything from a doctor that I know that's been in the field for 25 years that is wanting to be an expert contributor, because we've got somebody that is like that's been in the field for 25 years, that understands what's going on out there, and that there is, again, the statistics are staggering. So to have somebody like that is exciting. I've got another chiropractor that wants to be an expert contributor. I've got other folks that are, whether it's the schools or whether it's businesses and working with them. Again, the opportunity to impact lives is what's getting me out of bed. I mean, having a platform where we provide more value to people than they had before, and again, not just be a merchandising site, but figure ways to really impact people in a positive way, and not sugar-coated fluff stuff either, but stuff that they can take and they can use and they can apply in their everyday life, where they add tools to their tool belt essentially.
And do you have a website that my audience can follow up with you?
Yeah, I was actually going to I wanted to offer something up too. It's squeezed .us because we're all in this together. I picked .us or US, however you want to say it. And so it's just squeezed.us.
All right. And so, Eric, thank you so much for giving me some of your time to share your story with my community and sharing your story and your lessons with my community. I really appreciate that.
Well, and one thing I wanted to offer up to all your listeners out there too was I would like to throw out kind of a challenge to your listener to go to the website and go to the contact section and just type out your toughest squeeze you've ever gone through. I'm all about stories. Storytelling stores memory, and I would love as many stories as possible. Go to the website, put in your toughest squeeze and how you worked through it, what you did, and how you came out on the other side of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take whomever sends them in. We're going to take the best one. We'll put a few people together to kind of judge through them, and we'll pick one out. And what we'll do is we'll do a free squeezed box to that individual. We'll send it to that individual, or that individual can say, "Hey, don't send it to me. I want to send it to somebody." Like I did this for a customer of mine the other day, who's been a really good customer. And I said, "Hey, I'll send you one of these, or you can send it to somebody that you know that squeeze." And they said, "Well, I'm really close to this family that has a kid. He's 8 years old and he's got leukemia." So he's like, "I'll figure out what kind of IYQs I want to put together for this kid." So we can customize it. You can put down all the things you like about that person and a customized note. And I can work with you on that, or we can work with you on that. But whoever does that, we'll get you a free squeeze box, or we'll send it on your behalf to somebody else.
Wow, that sounds like that's going to make a big impact on somebody's life right there.
Yep, and we'll work with you on all of it. So we'd be happy to do it.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for being on the show here today. I appreciate your time, and I love what you're doing. I support what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome. I really appreciate it as well.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.